Now I'd like to talk a bit about another usual question I get. It's usually, why do I do no damage? Or my damage is crap, or something like that. Some are referring to it, this has been the worst leveling experience in my life, etc. I haven't leveled a Marauder in maybe the last year or something like that. But I don't think it has to be such a terrible experience as people are saying. I think the most terrible experience I've had when it comes to leveling is the latest build I did, the Wretch Slayer. It took until level 88 until I could convert to the build. Till then it wasn't nice at all. And I was carried pretty much most of the time, actually. Now, when it comes to this build, it doesn't have to be so terrible. Now, you convert to this build not late at all. I'd say that level 68 is a pretty good conversion level. I think it is because I think the Opal Scepter we want to craft with Essence of Hysteria. Okay, it requires level 60. But I've just chosen level 68 because of why not. We have a leveling guide here from Risk of Shadows, which gives us some tips of how he or she leveled the build. This leveling experience is based on using phase breakers. You know, leveling to level 16, that's like Act 1 and start Act 2 in normal. You can do that. There are a lot of skills, you can test some two-handed weapons and just kill stuff. It will not be a problem. You cannot expect to have the best leveling experience of your life to that level. This is how it's gonna be. Then you get your phase breakers at level 16. And then you have your leveling build, or what we can call it. Now, phase breakers is it's a pretty interesting item. It makes you unarmed, so don't use a weapon. There is a thing in the settings in Path of Exile which is called the auto pickup or something like that. In the UI, you can have auto equip. There it is. It will pick up items and equip them on you. If you use phase breakers, you want to turn that off and save, because if you want to be unarmed, you don't want every sword or dagger or wand you click on to be picked up and put into here, because then you'll not be unarmed anymore and you'll do no damage. So deactivate this. That's the first thing you should do. Now you have your phase breakers. You have nothing in your weapon that does damage. Where are you gonna get your damage from? Well, this guide gives some examples of what you can get. You can get Meginor's Girdle. It's perfect. It gives flat physical damage. This will be multiplied by phase breakers multiplier. It will be very powerful. It gives an average of 10 damage, which means that it will be like 60 to 70 damage. What weapon do you find in this kind of level that does 60 to 80 damage? It's not so often you have that. That's just one item. Then you can get a Skirmish Quiver at level 19. This enables you to use two totems. You cannot use Ancestral War Chief totem yet. It will come at level 28. But I think you can use Ancestral Protector or something like that. It's very useful because you can have two totems anyway, so that's what you should use later on. Now, to boost your damage further, you should get Iron Rings. And those Iron Rings can have physical damage crafted on them. You can also get like amulets at maybe level 20 or something. You can buy those with some adds physical damage to attacks. I give some other examples which I think are nice. You can use Ignomon, very good, but very not so good later on. You can use Cory's Charged Aid Amulet. Blood Grip is great later on because it gives a high flat physical damage. So I would use that. If it's not too expensive, I really don't know, but it shouldn't be. So that's what you do. You level up and you use Ancestral War Chief. You can use this with faster attacks and melee physical damage, add a fire. You know, use your fantasy. Depending on how many links you have, use it with that. Because you have a totem, these can tank bosses, so it is a very safe way of leveling. Coming up to those level 68 or 60 or whenever you want to convert into the build. Then you convert into the build and you think that everything is gonna be great. And then you tell me I am doing no damage. So that is what we're gonna discuss now. Why I'm doing no damage. So when you convert to your build, you're maybe gonna have something like this gear over here. What is it you have to start with? Well, you have to have this Opal Scepter, which you craft Essence of Hysteria. I don't know how expensive these are, but we can check that out right away. Yeah, so these run for 1 chaos. That is basically nothing. So you get that Opal Scepter, you get an Essence of Hysteria. These are for like 8 chaos currently. It can of course increase. And then you craft it to something like this. This is a pretty nice roll. And you're wondering why I'm doing no damage. But many of you that are wondering why you're doing no damage, you don't even have this. Then you maybe craft something like this helmet, and you get your ignite chance up, and you use these cast when damage taken setups, and you maybe get your Essence of Eye of Innocence, and you have your Rays of Seven Sun. Now you have a basic build. That's the 4 items. Then maybe you're using Dual Moku's Embrace, which is what I'm recommending. Now you actually should be doing damage, but there are still some things that can be wrong. Maybe you're using an Ember Wake without taming. That is a no-go, because it reduces your ignites by a factor of 5, the ignite damage. It is terrible. Use Dual Moku's Embrace instead. You get the cast speed and damage. This will only reduce your damage. Then there are some things with the link setup you have in your Opal Scepter. They are linked to your Fire Burst. You have to have the links I'm telling you now. One of two. One is increased area of effect and control destruction, and then use Fire Pen. This should be used with Moku's Embrace because you're relying on heavy ignites. And using Fire Penetration is very good on bosses because it penetrates them, but it also increases damage on normal mobs as well and rares with good resistance. Elemental Focus makes you unable to ignite, so it takes off that whole part of the build. So don't use that unless one thing. Maybe you're using Ember Wake and Taming. If you're using this combination, you're having low ignites, but the Taming is increasing your damage per hit the more ignites you have on the enemy. So the ignites don't do any damage on themselves, but the Taming will make every hit you make do more damage. Then Elemental Focus is an alright alternative, but I would say Fire Pen is still as good or maybe even better. So I would leave away the Elemental Focus and go for Control Destruction, Increased AoE and Fire Pen. That is my recommendation. Now you might wonder, oh bosses, they're so terrible, they're not burning down so quickly. Well, you change off your increased area of effect to concentrate effect. This will essentially make you do maybe 50 or 60% more damage on the initial hit, but the ignite will also do that. So this makes you do maybe 2 or 3 times as much damage, something in between there, 2.5 maybe. So this is what I recommend. Go in with a concentrate effect on the bosses and then switch back to increased AoE to kill normal mobs. We're using curses like elemental, we're using flammability, cast when damage taken. Going dual curses by the tree is useful. It will increase your damage because curses double dip, so adding a elemental weakness will be very useful. Now the active setup you use also decide a lot how much damage you'll use. Some are trying the old Blade Vortex version, which I have in here, but since they've made changes to that you only can have 1 instance of Blade Vortex at a time in the legacy patch, you have to remove your cast when damage Blade Vortex, and that will reduce the hits your cast when damage setup makes. But you can also go to other setups like Incinerate, and then you can keep the Blade Vortex. The best single target damage is Incinerate or Scorching Ray with cast when channeling and Firestorm, and I use Concentrate Effect to make it hit more on the boss and increase the duration to make it last longer. It hits very well, and I mentioned it in the clearing video. And it takes down the bosses very well, especially with Taming Ember Wake, but because now We have a lot of hits, and the ignite stacking actually helps in terms of damage. And the taming makes you do more damage for every ignite, so I also have a chance to ignite, of course, in that link. That is probably the best single target setup, except one other alternative, and that is the Righteous Fire, which I'll cover in another clip. And that one-shots most of bosses. That has one phase. You can even take multiple phases. I one-shot every Chimera phase with it. It has the damage potential of one-shotting Hydra. I didn't do that because I didn't succeed. I did like 10 tries, but almost every time I got 2 shots. So yeah. Other things that can increase the damage is using Vessel of Vinctor. It double dips. It gives a 2 multiplier. Of course you have to have an anti-shock flask. But I like more of a... It is pretty expensive, so our flask will be used by most of you guys. Yeah, so that's about it. Think about your Fireburst having that scepter. Think about the links. Think about switching to concentrated effect. And have your elemental weakness or flammability on the enemy to increase the damage even further. That's my end game tips. My early game tips are get fist damage on your gear, use Ancestral Warchief Totem when you can. Phase breakers is the key of the leveling build. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much.